You know what's been on my mind lately? The energy situation in Nigeria.
Oh yeah? What's happening over there?
Well, it's kind of wild. Nigeria is Africa's largest economy with over 200 million people, but they're struggling with constant power outages. Not just brownouts, full-scale blackouts. It's a huge
Seriously?
issue.
That's incredible. People must be relying on generators a lot then.
Exactly. Generators are everywhere, but they're not ideal. They cause air pollution, noise, and with petrol prices skyrocketing since April 2022, prices have shot up by 48.5%. It's draining family finances.
Wow. So it's not just inconvenient, it's a massive economic burden too.
Yeah, absolutely. Businesses are struggling and rural areas are falling even further behind. But here's the thing. Amidst all this, Nigerians are innovating, transforming energy access.
That's amazing. What kind of innovations are we talking about?
Well, one major issue is the inefficiency of the power grid. In Nigeria, 50% of electricity generated is unaccounted for. That's
Half of it?
enormous.
How does that even happen?
It's due to a lack of visibility into grid operations. Utilities know what's entering the grid and what's reaching consumers, but everything in between is like a black box.
I
So when
see.
something goes wrong, they don't know where to start.
That must make fixing issues really challenging.
Exactly. So companies like Beacon Power Services, led by CEO Bim Adisa, are stepping in. They've mapped every customer, building, transformer, and power line, creating a detailed grid topology.
That's impressive. So they've basically made the invisible visible.
Yeah, and with that, they've reduced grid losses in Lagos by 20 to 30%. Isn't that incredible?
It really is. That's a significant improvement. How does that help the overall situation?
Well, by improving visibility, utilities can identify where inefficiencies are happening, address issues quicker, cut down on wasted energy, and increase revenue. Then they can reinvest in infrastructure, breaking the cycle of unreliability.
Right? So it's like turning on the lights in a dark room. You can finally see what's going on.
Exactly. And beyond fixing the grid, there's a big shift toward decentralized solutions, especially solar energy. With the removal of Nigeria's 50-year fuel subsidy in 2023, petrol prices quadrupled, making solar much more attractive.
Makes sense. Yeah, I can imagine people are looking for alternatives now.
Definitely. Companies like Sunfi, co-founded by Rotimi Thomas, are making solar accessible. They connect consumers with trusted solar providers and offer payment plans like lease-to-own options.
That's really helpful. But do people find solar affordable? I mean, the upfront cost can be high.
That's true, but with payment plans and rising fuel costs, solar is becoming more economically viable in the long run. Plus, people are realizing the benefits: lower fuel costs, less noise, cleaner energy.
Right. It seems like a win-win situation.
Yeah, and it's not just households. Small and medium-sized businesses are getting on board too. Earthbond, led by CEO Chalu Anino, is providing affordable solar solutions to SMEs.
Interesting. So they're supporting the backbone of the economy.
Exactly, and they're looking beyond just energy. They're offering services like flood insurance and supply chain resilience. It's about building long-term resilience for these businesses.
That's forward thinking. But do you really think this shift to solar can transform Nigeria's energy landscape? There are still significant barriers like affordability and infrastructure, right?
That's a fair point. It's not going to be an overnight change, but with the right investments, policy support, and continued innovation, I think it's definitely possible.
I guess time will tell. Everyone deserves access to reliable, clean energy.
Absolutely. And the environmental benefits are significant too, reducing carbon emissions and pollution from generators. It's a critical step towards sustainability.
Definitely. It sounds promising, but are there any other challenges we should be aware of?
Well, infrastructure development takes time and investment. Regulatory hurdles can slow progress, and ensuring these solutions are accessible to all segments of the population is a challenge.
Right. So there's still work to be done, but the progress is encouraging.
Definitely. It's inspiring to see local innovators driving change and shaping a sustainable future for Nigeria.
Maybe other countries can learn from this approach.
Yeah, it's like a blueprint for transforming energy access in developing economies.
I just hope the momentum continues and more people get on board.
Me too. It's like the dawn of a new era for Nigeria's energy sector.
Absolutely. Well, this has been really insightful. Thanks for sharing all this.
No problem. It's a topic I'm really passionate about.
Welcome to HeyGen Podcast. Today, we're diving into Nigeria's solar energy potential and its path to power stability. Let's jump right in.
Yeah, I've been really fascinated by this topic. So, what's going on with Nigeria's power grid?
Well, to put it simply, Nigeria's grid is struggling. The country's got over 200 million people, but the power infrastructure is not keeping up. Constant blackouts are practically a way of life there.
Wow, that's tough. So, people are relying on generators then?
Exactly. Generators are like their lifeline, but they're noisy, polluting, and with petrol prices skyrocketing by over 48% since last year, it's becoming unsustainable for many.
That must be putting a huge strain on households and businesses.
Absolutely. Families are spending billions on generators, and the soaring costs are stifling businesses. And rural areas are even worse off.
Yeah.
But amidst all this, Nigerians are innovating, finding ways to redefine energy access.
That's inspiring. Can you give some examples?
Sure. There's this company called Beacon Power Services.
Okay.
The CEO, Bim Adisa, is tackling the grid's inefficiencies by mapping its infrastructure and providing data to utilities.
Wait, so they map every transformer and pole? How does that help?
Yes, they create a digital topology of the grid. It helps utilities identify where power losses occur so they can fix problems faster and reduce inefficiencies. They've cut grid losses by 20 to 30% in some areas.
That's significant. But is mapping enough to solve the larger issue?
Well, it's a big step forward, but it's not the whole solution. The demand still outstrips supply, especially with rapid urbanization.
Right.
That's where solar energy comes into play.
Solar energy. It's like the sun is offering a gift, isn't it?
Exactly. Nigeria has abundant sunlight, and with the rising costs of fuel, solar is becoming a more attractive option.
Yeah.
Entrepreneurs like Rotimi Thomas, CEO of Sunfi, are making solar accessible to consumers.
But I've heard solar installations can be expensive up front. How are they addressing that?
They offer financing options like lease to own and solar as a service. It's about making the switch affordable and educating consumers about the long-term savings.
Education must be key. I mean, people are used to paying for fuel as they need it.
Exactly. Switching to a fixed recurring payment can be a new concept. But once they understand the benefits, like lower costs over time and less pollution, they're more open to it.
Less noise too, I bet.
Oh, absolutely. One customer mentioned it's like going from a heavy metal concert to a library. The silence is golden.
That's a great analogy. But are there any challenges in scaling solar energy?
Well, besides financing, there's also the need for quality installations and maintenance.
Yeah.
Companies need to ensure that systems are reliable and last for years.
Makes sense. What about businesses? How are they adapting?
Businesses, especially SMEs, are crucial. Earthbond, led by Chialu Onyanacho, is focusing on providing solar solutions to small and medium enterprises. They're not just addressing energy needs, but building climate resilience.
Climate resilience, can you elaborate?
Sure, it's not just about energy. SMEs face challenges like floods, supply chain disruptions. Earthbond aims to be a one-stop shop for climate resilience, starting with energy but looking at the bigger picture.
That's comprehensive. But do you think focusing on cities like Lagos is the right approach?
Well, some argue we need to address rural electrification.
Exactly.
But cities are economic nerve centers. Focusing on them can drive industrialization and lift millions out of poverty.
I see your point, but rural areas shouldn't be left behind.
Absolutely not. It's a balance.
Right.
Solving urban energy issues can have a ripple effect, enabling more resources to be directed to rural electrification.
That's fair. But do you think the government is doing enough?
That's where it gets tricky. Ending the fuel subsidy was a bold move, but it caused hardship. There needs to be more policy support for renewable energy adoption.
Perhaps subsidies or incentives for solar installations?
Exactly. Encouraging investment in renewables can accelerate the transition. Plus, supporting startups in this space can drive innovation.
Definitely. But I wonder if solar alone can meet the energy demands.
Well, it's not about solar alone. It's a mix.
Right.
Improving grid infrastructure, investing in renewables, and even considering other sources like wind or hydro where feasible.
That's a holistic approach. But aren't there challenges with grid integration?
Yes, integrating distributed energy sources into the grid can be complex. But with smart technologies and grid modernization, it's manageable.
It's a big undertaking. Do you think Nigeria is up for it?
I believe so. Nigerians are resilient and innovative.
True.
With the right support, they can transform the energy landscape.
I hope so. It's crucial for the economy and the environment.
Absolutely. Reliable power is the backbone of economic growth, and
Yeah.
moving towards clean energy has global benefits.
Well, it's been an enlightening discussion.
Indeed, Nigeria's journey towards power stability is challenging but full of potential.
Exactly. Thanks for sharing all this. You've given me a lot to think about.
My pleasure. It's an important topic.
For sure.